right, looks like we're live. So welcome everybody to this year's State of Keap address. If you've been following us for very long, you know that we've been doing a State of Infusionsoft address unofficially for the last few years. Clay's kind of given us the blessing, but we kind of just did it anyways. So this year I reached out and said, Clay, would you mind joining me? And let's make this a little more official, straight from the horse's mouth. Give you guys an insight into what's going on at Keap. So Clay, thank you. Appreciate you doing this.
Oh, thank you. I'm really glad to do it.
All right. So let's get into this. First off, why are we doing this? Why would we do a State of Keap address, especially from another company, Box Out Marketing? Why would we address this? Main thing is we love Infusionsoft, we love Keap, and we want to share the good news with people. We also want to address some of the questions and challenges that have been going on and help people understand the context of everything that's happened, right?
Yeah.
So I want to give people a view into the future as well, what you guys are building and planning and all of that. So that's really our purpose today. First off, what I want to do though is kind of jump back in the past and look at where Infusionsoft has been in becoming Keap and and then we'll talk about where it's going in the future. So. Clay, give us just a quick history of the company. I started in 2007, left in 2012, but you guys were up and running well before then, and you've done a lot since then. So give us a little history.
Well, I think probably I'm glad to have the opportunity to do that because I think a lot of times people just think, there's this company and they got investors and capital.
Right.
No, we started as a service business helping customers. We were doing custom software for them. And for 3 years, we were just working like crazy to try to keep the lights on and make it work. And that's really where the passion to help small businesses grow and be successful, that's where it came from. Yeah. So we lived that. We experienced the dark side of entrepreneurship that I talk about all the time, the challenges that it is to grow a successful business and have a life and have some semblance of balance. Went through all of that difficulty in those first few years. And by the way, the challenge to balance, the challenge for an entrepreneur to be balanced in their life, it's always there. It's just part of it. But those early days were really formative for us. And that helped us, that created a passion and a fire inside of us to help small businesses be successful. And in those early years, we weren't really sure what we wanted to do. We were just serving customers and helping their businesses grow. And then we started to catch a vision.
Sound like a lot of Infusionsoft customers.
Yes, we were. We were our customer for sure.
Right.
And that's really where the whole thing was born. And then we caught a vision of what we could do to serve many, many more small businesses. And for years we did that and grew quickly, and Infusionsoft was leading that charge. And then a few years ago, we got to a point where we said, if we really want to achieve the mission that we have for this company, which is to serve millions of small businesses and to simplify growth for them, if we really want to do that, we've got to do something the market's been asking for a long time. And that's to create an easier, lighter version of the software.
Yep.
And so that is where I think the story that we're in right now really begins. Yep. Because that was kind of the setting up for the next stage. And that was about 4 years ago. And we had to go create a version of our software that would enable us to go achieve the vision.
So we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
Let's hold off on that. Let's stay in the past for a minute longer. Tell us about some of the challenges you faced as a early small business owner. Again, very similar to our average Infusionsoft customer.
Yeah.
What was that like for you personally, as a business, as employees, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, it's like trying to keep the lights on every day, trying to balance and manage things at home. I just remember it was like every day that we survived was okay. We're a little closer to success. It's like, and I had that realization one day because I used to tell people, I have like maybe 30 bad days and then one good day, and it's just enough to keep me going. And as we started to make a little more progress, I'd realize, oh man, I had maybe one solid day this week, and I realized that was each day we survived was actually a win because it just helped us to get closer. So, I had those kind of thoughts going on, and certainly had all of the thoughts of, fear and uncertainty and doubt and whether we could make it work. And you have all of the voices from everybody around you that's worried about you and, it's time to go get a real job. And in fact, that was kind of there was a point where my wife Cherise just couldn't do it anymore. She was like, you just have to promise me you're going to go get a job tomorrow. And this was a hard, tearful conversation. We had lots of these conversations, and I'd always been able to prevail and say, hang in there, it's getting better. And she would always say, well, it's not getting better for me. So finally, this one night, she said, you got to go get a job. And I realized I wasn't going to win this argument. And I said, okay, I'll do it. So the next day I went to work, and I just got swallowed up by the work. And before I knew it, it was time to go home, and I hadn't done any job hunting, and I was driving home feeling awful that I hadn't done what I said I would do. And I felt awful because I didn't know how Sharice was going to receive that. And I walked into the house that day, and she was, I'll never forget that. She's like, did you look for a job today? And I said, no. And I just kind of was like bracing. And then she came over and she gave me a huge hug, and she just hugged me really tight, and we were both hugging. And I was like, what's going on? But we were hugging really tight. And then we were crying as we were hugging. And she finally let go, and she said, everything's going to be okay. Just keep going. Oh. And that keep going moment is a moment that every entrepreneur has and needs. And it's why we say keep going, keep serving, keep growing. It's literally that perseverance of entrepreneurs to make it work, and that's the spirit of the company is.
Absolutely, I love that story. I'm glad you shared it, because that's the life that every entrepreneur lives day in and day out, right? Whether you're feeling the overwhelm of you've made a promise and you just can't quite get to it because everything at work is pulling you away from it, or the emotional moments at home and all that kind of stuff. It's tough. Yeah. And I'm glad you shared that, because I think it gives a great window into the soul of Keap. Yeah. Because that's where it all started. So I want to shift gears a little bit now and talk about kind of what has happened since then. Like I said, I joined in 2007. By then, company was on a pretty good growth trajectory. Yeah. We had a lot of fun over those years.
Those were fun years. Yes.
Yeah, super, super fun. I remember in one of our company meetings, you coming and sharing with the team an experience you had with your personal trainer. Yeah. You went in, I can't remember the exact details, but something about, you wanted to go in and bench a lot or something. You want to get your bench up to some, 300 pounds or something. I don't know. And you said you were disappointed because the trainer had told you, no, hold off. We're going to work on your core first. And you're like, no, I just want to get to benching. And then later you realized that all that focus on the core helped you with every other part. And of course, the analogy was, hey, here at the company, we need to focus on the core. Right. And you helped us get really focused on our purpose, mission, core values. And that was something that I noticed, and I think everyone else noticed as partners and customers, was just a tractor beam for the company, right? It just people wanted to work for this company. Right. Customers got excited about, wow, this company really stands for something, and I want to be a part of that. And that was super, super exciting. Yeah. And then in recent years, we've lost some of that, flame. Totally. So tell us what's going on. Like these last few years, has the core changed? Has the core weakened? Has there not been focus on the core?
I'm glad you're asking me about it. So let me explain the analogy, one little piece of it. Okay. So what Franco actually did with me that day, yes, was you're right. I was like, core. I didn't want to do that. But then he did this exercise, and I will always remember it. It was a really amazing metaphor for running your business, and I was. He wanted me to stand on the little half ball thing, and have one foot on it. And then he wanted me to bend down and do a one-leg squat. Yeah. And I was on this ball, and I'm wobbling like crazy. I'm like, ah. And he's like, okay, now do the same thing, but tighten your core. Yeah. And I tightened the core, and the wobble went away. It was like magic. Right. I was like, wait, what the heck? That was so weird. Like, why did as I tightened my core muscles, literally the wobble went away. And I started to see that's how our business is. If we stay focused and tighten the core, and there are certain seasons where you have to do this and you need to tighten the core. Well, that's what we were doing back then. And we got really clear on the core values, the purpose, the mission, and the leadership model. So now, fast forward from that time, several years, and from where we are now, go back 4 years. Mm-hmm. And 4 years ago is when we started to do where we started to intently work on this lighter, easier version of the software. In fact, if people go back to our user conference 4 years ago, you can go see this video called "The Spirit of Infusionsoft," and we shared at that conference what our vision was and what we were working on for the future, and that was the beginning of it. And it's funny because in last month's company meeting, I brought that video back and I showed that video and I said, "This is what the company's spirit is. This is what it is, and it's time for us to focus on the core and bring that back." Now, what happened? Why did it get lost? Why did we lose our way in that process? I've had partners or customers say, "Yeah, you guys kind of lost your way." Yeah, it's exactly
and why
right.
did it take so long? And product, challenges.
Yes,
like
So what happened was we needed to create that lighter, easier version of the software, and we've been kind of trying to do it, dabbling, trying to make Infusionsoft easier, and we came to the conclusion that wasn't going to work. So we had to reimagine the software as a lighter, easier version. And that was really tough. It's really tough to do. And there was we needed to bring in some outside talent to help us do that. And so the short answer is that we began at that point a product transition that required a leadership transition because we were bringing in people from the outside. And in the process of that, trying to keep the core of the company was really, really difficult.
Yeah.
And frankly, I wasn't able to do it for a number of different reasons, most of which people wouldn't understand. But one of the side effects of when you have investors is you lose control on some things and you can't do things the way you would do them. And so we went through a season where there was a lot of internal turmoil about, well, are we creating a lighter, easier version of Infusionsoft, or are we creating a replacement for Infusionsoft, or are we creating something altogether different? And when you bring in people and everybody's not aligned on that question, and there were some times where I was like, I knew it wasn't something altogether different.
Right.
Some people thought that. I never believed that was the case. But sometimes I would vacillate between, is it a lighter, easier version, or is this going to be a replacement for Infusionsoft? And I didn't know. And so as we went through that process, that's why it takes time. It's really tough because you have different philosophical views of what it should be from people you brought in to help you do it. And in the process of figuring out the product transition, we lost some of that core value focus and the thing that the spirit of this company that makes it great.
I think this is the reason why the business graveyard is full of innovative companies, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't effectively see into the future.
Right.
You have to guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to try things and see if they work.
Yeah.
I remember in Jeff Bezos's letter to shareholders in 2018, he said something to the effect of, wandering is an essential counterbalance to efficiency. Basically saying, and he made a comment, I don't remember the exact quote, but something about like, look, if a few years ago we had said to you, hey, would you like a little gray thing that sits on your counter and you talk to it? Would you want that? And everyone would have said no.
Right.
And he just says that, look, you have to kind of test things out and try things, and it's this wandering process before you hit on things.
Yeah.
I just think that's an important thing for people to understand, because it's easy to look at it now and go like, well, duh, you should have done this, that, and the other.
Right.
And no one knows the future, and you guys are actually like trying to create the future before it happens.
Right.
It's difficult.
Yeah, I would definitely say there was some wandering. That's a good way to put it. Now, about a year ago, we got to the point where we had a new version of the software that customers were saying, hey, this is a really great experience. And you have to understand, and I think you know this as an Infusionsoft customer, for years the knock on us was, well, it's the learning curve is really tough. Yeah. And especially if you are not a more sophisticated marketer. If you're not a marketer and you're not, it's going to be overwhelming to do this stuff. So we knew that's why we had to create a lighter, easier version of the software. I mean, we'd heard all the Confusionsoft stuff, and people would say, "Oh, we're going to kill Confusionsoft." And I said, "No, we're going to kill it.
Yeah,
that's actually what we're doing right now." And we did. And a year ago, we brought out a product that, and it had been. I mean, it wasn't like we just all of a sudden. I mean, literally, we've been working on it for a long time. Lots of versions. Yep. You saw, the missteps and all the while, Infusionsoft customers were getting some attention, but not as much as they wanted. Mm-hmm. And that was painful for me, it was painful for them, painful for partners. So a year ago when we introduced Keap, and it was just about 1 year ago, we knew, okay, we've got the paradigm for the future. Mm-hmm. Now, there was still a little bit of, we knew it wasn't something different by then, of course. We knew that it was a lighter, easier version of the software, but there was still some question about, will this replace Infusionsoft? And it wasn't until May of last year that we got clear internally. And frankly, we got clear because we worked through some of the people transition that needed to happen. So we brought in some people who helped us create that, but then over time they left. And that enabled us to say, okay, let's get back to clarity of what we've been creating all along. And it's a lighter, easier version of the software. It's not a replacement of Infusionsoft. And we have a version of the software that you can get started with, and it's pleasant and easy and even fun. It's delightful, and people will, send me. I get all kinds of feedback on this, and it's thrilling because for years I got all kinds of feedback of the learning curve. It's so hard, and so that's what we had to create. Now, last year, as we started to get that product out, we began to put a little more focus and attention on Infusionsoft, but it was still behind in terms of the resource allocation we were giving to Keap. We had more things we needed to do to get Keap Grow and Keap Pro out and get into the market. So that is why customers felt the frustration, because we had more focus on the new product, and gradually last year we began to put some focus back onto Infusionsoft. Part of that we did because the leadership alignment and philosophy began to get sorted out. And part of that we did because we got the product into a place where we could now work toward the vision we've had for a long time, which is the future I'll talk about.
So I can tell you're excited about the product, and I want to get there. But I feel like we need to address one of the elephants in the room.
Okay.
And that is,
we still need to say something about the core values, because I'm focused big time on that.
We'll come back to that. So as a user, obviously I was an employee. I've been gone since 2012. So as a user myself, as a partner, as an advocate for our clients and customers, one of the things that people see is, okay, Infusionsoft went and raised a bunch of money, 100 million, and then some more recently. Mm-hmm. And then all the while we see a bunch of product wandering, and we see layoffs and things like that. And so then people start to wonder, like, is this ship sinking? Like, what's going on? And then the other problem is customers get attached to your employees.
Yeah,
right? They work with someone who's great,
right,
and helps them out, and they're really smart, and then that person leaves. And they go, oh, wow, the smartest person that I know regarding Infusionsoft just left. What is going on over there?
Yeah.
And so then they start to wonder, like, I put all this time and this effort and money into this platform. Do I need to shift gears?
Right,
Do I need to go somewhere else? That's a big, serious question for people. And when they see
I've
all
heard
this
it a
stuff,
time or two.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. when all this stuff is happening that causes concerns, how do you address that? What do we say to them?
Yeah. The reason why it felt like that the product wasn't getting the attention is because it wasn't getting the attention. Mm-hmm. That's why it felt that way.
Right.
And last year we started to put some more attention on it, but we were not yet to a place where we were saying, okay, let's put a bunch of feature work into Infusionsoft. Mm-hmm. So middle of last year, you might recall, I really began to focus with the team on quality and improving quality, improving deliverability. And we had our best Black Friday we've ever had because we made a significant upgrade to our deliverability. Now, there's more to do. I'm not trying to say, and if you go back to end of the year last year, we were doing better than we'd ever done on quality, and I've heard that from some notoriously. Well, let's just say they didn't always say the nicest things, and they were like, hey,
I'll call them negative.
The quality, the quality is really good. Okay. Well, we there's more work we're doing because we just had a hiccup over the last couple of weeks that we've been working through, and I know that's frustrating, but the focus on quality continues, and now we're putting more focus on features in Infusionsoft. So the reason why people would say that is because we were over here putting stuff into Keap, not putting stuff into Infusionsoft. You name the company Keap, for heaven's sakes. Well, what does this mean for Infusionsoft, right? That's what people think. And I totally understand. And it's a result of not having consistent investment and improvement in the Infusionsoft product.
What about the people challenges? Having to hire people and lay off people and hire people and lay off people.
Yeah.
That feels weird from the outside. Can you give us some insight into what's going on there?
That's all about the leadership transition I was talking about.
Okay.
When you bring leaders in who, I'm just going to put it really bluntly, we had leaders in who said we shouldn't be doing anything on Infusionsoft. Well, what does that mean if you're an Infusionsoft expert as an employee?
Yeah.
You're marginalized. You start to feel not very useful. You start to feel not very wanted, and you leave. Yeah. And that was the frustration of going through that period of time. Now, I can't go into all the details of it, but people will probably look at it and say, well, you're the CEO. Why can't you change that? I couldn't change it. I literally had my hands tied and all of the resources reported up to the COO. I'm just going to put it bluntly.
Yeah.
So that all changed recently. And that is literally at the beginning of January. So
tell us what that change is. I think we were going to get into that later, but
let me say one thing about employees and that attachment. I love that attachment. It's one of my favorite things. I love how our customers get connected with our people. And one of the hardest things as we went through this transition, there were two really hard things, but one was not putting the work into the Infusionsoft product that I love, that serves our customers and partners that I love, that helps our keepers, our employees that I love. That was really hard. But the other part was watching how it hurt people in the process. It's really tough. It's really tough. And you're trying, as the CEO, you're trying to bring in the talent that you need to create the product transition. That was the big problem that we had. And it turns out killing Confusionsoft is really painful and it hurts people in the process, but we had to do it. And so mark my words, some of those people will be coming back. Mark my words, there will be a return to the core, the way that you talked about. And that's because we now have the alignment to be able to go do that. Alignment from the board and from the executive team so that we can lead the company consistent with our mission and vision and consistent with our core values and consistent with the passion that we have to serve customers.
So all that sounds exciting. I'm looking forward to that. So tell us what's changed, because you're the eternal optimist. We've heard a lot of optimistic words from you before.
Yep.
What's changed now? What's different with the core? What's different with the leadership team?
Yeah.
You mentioned alignment with the board. What's different there? How do we know, okay, yeah, this is actually on the right track. We're going to see this through.
Yeah. The only way you'll know is by watching consistent product improvements every month. That's the way you're going to know. And I don't expect you to believe anything that I say until you see consistent product improvements. And then when you see that, I want you to say, oh yeah, Clay was right. That's what happened. There was this transition period that we had to go through with product and people. And we got through to the other side of that at the end of last year. And so what you'll see is more emphasis on the Infusionsoft product. Now, what's happened? So I don't want to act like it was somebody else's fault or anything like that. The reality is all of us, the people we brought in from Intuit to help us create an easier product, the people from Infusionsoft, we were all working on a really hard problem to transition the product into a place that we could serve people who were just getting started in this world and people who wanted all the power and nuance and beauty of Infusionsoft. So that was a really freaking hard problem to solve. And I am so grateful to Terry and to Keith and to Paul and to others who came and created a product paradigm for us to be able to go execute the vision and serve millions. We couldn't do it without them.
Well, like we talked about, that wandering created some features and eventually the product Keap that we may not have today without it.
That's right.
Without those people who brought in those ideas and led through those challenges.
That's right.
So I'll say too, I want the audience to hear this and hear it very, very clearly. One of the things I'm most excited about is the leadership change that we've seen recently, right? And I actually didn't know this when I reached out to Clayton and said, hey, can we do this Facebook Live? But Clayton now has control again, right?
Yep.
And I just saw yesterday that Scott is now back leading marketing, which gets me really fired up.
Yep.
And so the original leadership that grew this company successfully and had a ton of fun doing it is back in place.
That's right.
And aligned with the original core as well.
Yeah, and we've blended. We've got a team of people who are committed to that purpose and that long term, and we now have the product to go do it. Awesome. So I'm loving the fact that as of, about 2 weeks ago was kind of my first full day on the job. And, we started to work on these changes about 4 weeks ago. That was the point where the board came and said, you know what, I think it's time for us to do something different. And I said, let's go.
Let's do it.
and so Scott has product marketing that reports to him. And Rajesh, who leads, who's our CTO, he and Scott and I work with Steve, and we really focus on the product strategy. That's kind of the product steering. And we've been having conversations over the last couple of weeks about raising the prioritization of Infusionsoft and making it the highest priority so that we're delivering. We continue the focus on quality and deliverability, but we add to it feature improvements so that there's a consistent, steady diet of improvements in Infusionsoft. And then the last part of it is the really exciting thing to me, which is these Keap and Infusionsoft products fully coming together so that if you are in Infusionsoft, you can have all the benefits of the UI and the functionality that we've been creating in Keap. Because what I heard from partners 1 year ago when we introduced Keap was, hey, that's really awesome, but like we want that in Infusionsoft. Like, how can we get that? And we didn't have a good answer for that, partly because we still had some philosophical divide that they were two separate worlds, and partly because we had to figure out technically how to do that. But that work began late last year and continues, and we actually have hundreds of customers now that are Infusionsoft customers getting the Keap UI and functionality. And over the course of this year, and it'll take a while. So I don't want to like set expectations. You're going to see this in a month. No, it's going to take a little while, but we'll introduce it we'll bring Keap to more and more of our Infusionsoft customers.
Great. That's exciting. So I feel like we could try and rehash the past, over and over and over, and that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I think we have a good understanding now of what's transpired, and I think we have a good understanding of where you guys are at now. So let's talk about the future. You mentioned just now, and I've heard you in passing mention this, but maybe this is the first time publicly that I've heard you say it, about this coming together of the products.
Yeah.
So it might be in the future a little bit, but tell us what does that look like?
Yeah. So we're focused this year on creating that one platform. It's the same back end, I think, as people know, between Keap and Infusionsoft, but we kept the front end, the user experience, separate. And those things are coming together. So what you'll see is, and again, this is if my message to Infusionsoft customers was, hey, this is what you're going to get, I don't think that matters to them so much, because I think what matters to our customers is, well, here's where I am every day. Can you please make my emails get delivered more effectively and improve the quality? And can you give me the features that I've been asking for a long time? Now, there's lots of feature requests. So I don't also want to set the expectation that, you're going to get all the stuff you've asked for. That's not going to happen either. What is going to happen is every month you're going to see us deliver features in Infusionsoft. And you're going to see us continue to focus on quality and deliverability. And then to me, the cherry on top is that at some point, when you're ready and we're ready, you will be able to receive all of the Keap functionality and Keap UI. And if you don't ever want that and you want to stay on the classic Infusionsoft UI, you can do that. That's totally fine.
That's awesome. So that's really...
And I think the thing for people to understand is that Infusionsoft is the high end of our software.
Right.
So as you graduate from Grow to Pro to Infusionsoft, you shouldn't sacrifice any of the functionality that the others have.
Absolutely.
And that is something probably the reason I get so excited about it is we've been doing this awesome stuff. Like when people say, you guys haven't been innovating, I'm like, we have, but it's in Keap and you're not able to get it yet in the Infusionsoft side. So it's painful for me because I want to bring that to them. That's sometimes why I get so excited about customers experiencing that. But I think to me, that's the cherry on top of the work we're doing this year. The real nuts and bolts, blocking and tackling is improving quality and deliverability and delivering features that have been needed for some time.
It's awesome. So when I solicited our audience for like, hey, send questions for me to ask Clay, I would say 95% of them were product questions. And probably 50% or more of those were very specific, like, hey, I need this one little thing. When are you going to build it? Right. And I look at it and I go, well, you're probably the only person on the planet who needs that. So let's throw that question out. But there are a few kind of big categorical questions that if you've got a few minutes, I'll ask you.
You bet.
So you mentioned kind of the focus for the year, and anyone who didn't see it, Rajesh, who heads up the product, did a video yesterday on Facebook where he explained the priorities for Q1, and I'll just read them here. He said priority number 1 is quality, and he talked about getting critical issues down and all that kind of stuff. He said priority number 2 is a focus on Infusionsoft, not Keap, Infusionsoft, and he mentioned specifically improving the landing page builder, order forms, and a few other things. Third priority, he said close the gaps for Keap. So talking about some of the things that Keap needs to improve on.
Yep.
And then fourth, some new innovations. And one that got me almost jumping up and down was real-time dashboards in Infusionsoft and Keap.
Right.
Can you say anything about that yet? Because this is one of those things where, like, I remember specifically, I think it was at a partner con, previous product leader saying, you know, we're doing this, that, and the other. And I was like, what about reporting? He's like, yes, you'll have it this year. And that was like a decade ago.
Yeah. Yes. Reporting has been needed for quite some time. It's one of Rajesh's high, areas of focus, one of his high priorities. I'm not going to say it's going to come on this date or whatever, but there is work going on right now to deliver that for customers. So more to come on that, but yes, you will see reporting upgrade this year.
Awesome. He also mentioned one-to-many SMS. So basically what that means is in the campaign builder, being able to send out a message to notify people of something, maybe even broadcast, I'm not sure.
Yep.
But it's not like the back and forth, not yet anyways. But that is a focus for Q1. And then also just simplicity of automation, making it easier to do the automated things that we want to do.
Yes.
So that's exciting. The question that comes to mind for me, and really is an underlying question behind all of the product questions, is where's the product roadmap? Can we see one?
Yes.
Is there some kind of plan to this thing? Are you guys going somewhere specific?
There is, and it feels great to be working directly with Rajesh on it. Yeah. And I, since kind of my first official day was last Monday, we met on Wednesday night, I believe it was. Went through it, me and Scott and Steve and Rajesh, and we're ready to share the Q1 stuff. So you'll start to see in the next few days, you'll see what we're doing in Q1. And then we've got a rough version of the Q2 that we'll share with partners. Probably we won't share that out broadly yet because some things change as you go through that process. But yeah, we're back to having a roadmap. We're back to there was a season where we did that, and there was a season where we didn't do that. And Rajesh is great and is willing and happy to share that with a certain amount of time. You don't want to say, oh, this is what's coming in 2022.
Will there be a point when all users will be able to look at a roadmap and say, oh, okay, I can see that this is coming, maybe not exact timelines, but know roughly what's happening, what's coming?
That's a good question. I don't know. What I can tell you for sure will happen is we will do a better job of communicating the stuff we have done. Because one of the things that's kind of frustrating to me is that last year, we did start doing things in Infusionsoft. Now, they weren't big, massive game changers. They were, and relatively speaking, it was less than what we were doing in Keap. But we did start doing some things last year, and we did a really poor job of communicating that and getting people into the know. And so that's one of the things I've talked about with Rajesh and Scott, specifically Scott on the product marketing side. We've got to get the message out, and we've got to get back into it. There was a time where we had a very steady cadence of sharing in a video. Here's what we did last time. Here's what we did last month, and a link to go see all the stuff about that. Here's what we're releasing this time, and giving a little sneak peek of what was coming next month, and then just getting that message out and doing it over and over and over and over. And we need to get back to doing that kind of communication and getting it out in all the channels that we can get it out, because sometimes we are doing stuff and people aren't seeing it, and we're not getting credit for that, and they're not getting to use it.
Yeah, I totally agree. As a partner, I've seen a lot of these changes and innovations, but then I'm always kind of waiting, like, when are they going to announce this to the public? And then it never happens, and then it kind of going, well, what's going on here?
Well, I'll tell you what's going on. People didn't care about announcing it because that wasn't what the real focus was in their minds, right? So when Infusionsoft is over there and it's like, well, we're not quite sure, and there's this philosophical divide, and all the resources that would do that work are under that leader, you're not going to see much. Yeah. So when you said I'm excited for Scott to be over marketing, you have no idea.
I'm sure you are ecstatic. Look, let's just address a couple other things, just kind of big categorical questions. One of the very common questions was around SMS. We already addressed that. Rajesh has said it's coming at least in a one-to-many way. So that's exciting. Another big one is email deliverability. Big concerns about deliverability, especially lately. You mentioned last year it got into a place where it was really good, but then now recently we got a bunch of people complaining again.
Right.
What can you say about email deliverability?
Yeah. So as I've said many times, it's an ongoing thing. It'll always be there. It's a challenge for every provider, every one of our competitors, anybody that sends email, you have this challenge. It's not, you never solve it fully. But you have to keep working on it consistently. And there was a season where we weren't working on it very much, because one of the differences in that we're building something totally different was that, well, email marketing doesn't really matter. Are you freaking kidding me? Email marketing really, really matters, right? Yeah. So I have a little pent up energy around that, as you might be able to tell. So last year we started to invest much more in that, and we made some significant advancements. The speed of emails in big batches has tripled, or has improved 3 times. Okay. There's more work to do there, but we made a pretty significant upgrade in our email deliverability capabilities in the second half of last year, and our customers and partners were the beneficiaries of that during Black Friday, when we sent record numbers of emails and we didn't have any significant incidents, which is like the first time in the history of the company. Because when you dramatically increase your volume, right, it's almost impossible to anticipate all of the different things that can go wrong. And as people remember from the prior year, when that happened, it slowed down the app. It brought it was awful. Yep. And that was evidence of the lack of investment we had been making in email. So we have significantly increased the investment there in the second half of last year. We've been making progress there, and we have to just continue to work with service providers, make greater visibility for customers to see how they're doing in their email practices. And we had a pretty significant deliverability upgrade that we did late last year. We're calling that kind of the first upgrade. Now we're doing a second upgrade right now. So we just continue to work at it. And there are glitches. We had a 41-minute outage with Gmail a few days ago, and you think, well, 41 minutes, probably not that. It's a big deal. It's a lot. It's a big deal. Yeah. And then we had the Roadrunner thing. I mean, there's just always little things you're working through. So I would say, generally, the deliverability, when we look across competitors, is strong and is, when you're not having one of those fires. But then you have one of those fires and you have customers that say, oh, here we go. Well, it's part of life in email delivery. That's part of what it is. So we can do better. We're working on doing better. It's a significant area of focus for us, and it's a huge part of priority for Infusionsoft.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Let me just mention too, though, for our audience, that in all of the questions that I received about email deliverability, it's clear that for most people, and we're talking to customers every day, but it's clear that most people don't understand what goes into deliverability, and they don't understand they're part of it. Mm-hmm. And so, you guys can make all these improvements and whatnot, but what we see in working with our clients day in and day out and helping our clients send broadcasts and send campaigns and all that kind of stuff is that the majority of the time, it's really a problem on the customer side. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that, and sorry to detour just a little bit, but I think it's really, really important, is that people need to understand that email deliverability nowadays is controlled much more by engagement than it is even by reputation and spam complaints and that kind of stuff. What does that mean? Well, all the email receiving servers out there are using artificial intelligence. And they're looking at every individual recipient and checking to see, does that person open? Does that person click? And then they're getting an overall idea of the engagement. And if you send a broadcast and people don't like it, well, that tells the artificial intelligence, people don't like your emails. Yep. So next time you send one, well, it might go in promotions folder or spam folder. And if you keep doing that, it just confirms to the AI that your stuff is crap, mm-hmm. and it needs to go in the crap can. Right? And so, we do a lot of education, a lot of training with our clients to help them know how to engage correctly. Yeah. It's all about engagement nowadays. Yes. So each of us, needs to take a lot more ownership than we ever have in the past in making sure emails end up in the inbox. Of course, Keap needs to do their part, but really that engagement measurement has become more and more important.
Yeah, and I think there's been a narrative for a long time that, Infusionsoft's deliverability, Keap's deliverability is bad. So then when somebody has a problem, they say, oh, well, it's you guys. And then they go to MailChimp or Constant Contact or something else, and they have the same problems. Yeah. And we hear people when they come back and like, yeah, you know what, there are things we need to do. I do not want to punt the problem. We will always be working on deliverability, but we can't save a person from their poor engagement. Right. Like it's you said it exactly right, Tyler. It is engagement. That's what the servers are using to determine whether or not this is good email that they're going to deliver. And if it's not getting opened at a certain rate, and by the way, it would be really nice if they told us what that rate was, but
Right.
you don't know because there's a lot of different algorithms in the way they look at it. But if it doesn't get opened and things don't get clicked on, then it's determined that, this is spam. This is not of interest.
And this is an overlooked area of innovation that you guys did a year or two ago in creating the email status automation triggers and things like that. So, in your Infusionsoft account, you can make it so that when someone starts to disengage, you can automatically trigger a campaign, some kind of follow-up, a task to call them, whatever it might be, or remove them from a list so that you continue to only send to the engaged people. There's a lot you can do there and set it up in an automated way, and Keap has provided that functionality in the software for us. Okay, another really big question. Actually, it's not very big. It's one very specific thing, but it has come up over and over and over for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
What about custom fields? Do we have?
Yes.
You knew that one was coming.
Oh my gosh.
Is there anything being done about that? Is that being addressed, or is it still just kind of on the back burner?
There is work being done. It's not on the back burner, but it's also not in the next month thing. Yeah. So there is work being done on it. Okay. It's one of the things that the PAC, the Partner Advisory Council, has really said, look, we've got to address this. And so we know it's a priority. We know it's important. And we're working on how do we best solve that problem for customers. So yes, we know that's a problem that needs to be solved. We are going to solve it. I don't have an exact timeline on it, but it's actively being worked on right now.
That's good to hear, because in the past we've heard, well, it's kind of a database restriction problem, and it sounded like it was just not possible.
We said that for years, and we said, no, we're going to solve this.
Awesome. That's good to hear. Okay, another one. This is kind of a big categorical one as well. I hear this all the time. I know you've heard it for years. Someone looks at Keap, or they look at Infusionsoft, say they're a service-based business, and they go, kind of looks like that's for e-commerce. Same thing happens with e-commerce businesses. They look at it and go, that's kind of for service businesses, not for me. Right. What's going on there, and where's the product direction? Are you focusing on e-commerce or service or both? What's going on? So
a couple of things. We're working on the order forms right now to make that a lot more beautiful and easy. I think that's going to be an important thing, because you're exactly right. It's not intended to be a full-blown e-commerce solution.
Right.
And I think that's important, and maybe some people don't want to hear that, but that's the truth. And so sometimes people are stretching it to do more than it was intended to do. What we do want to do is make it very easy for people to process orders, to do, with order forms and that sort of thing. We also need to make it easier for you to, as this solution that helps you run your sales and marketing, to do the more sophisticated, full-blown shopping cart stuff if you want to. So how are we going to do that? We'll do that with integration. We're not going to go replace all that functionality. Shopify does a great job. That's an integration customers have asked for a long time. That's something that we're looking into right now. It's not something that, again, is going to be next month, but it's something we're looking into. I think on a related front, just giving people Stripe and the ability to transact with Stripe has been something, especially for international customers, that's been much wanted and long awaited. And I'm excited. That is one that's coming in the next month or so.
Exciting.
So I'm excited about that.
That's great. Okay, last one. What about the email builder? That's another one that we consistently hear criticism about, whatnot. And truthfully, I'm like, hey, this is 1,000 times better than what it used to be, so quit complaining. But I totally understand that people want to be able to do specific things they can't because of the restrictive nature of the drag and drop builder. They want more templates, they want things to be easier, et cetera. Is there any focus on the email builder?
There is focus on making emails easier to send, but right now it's less on the nuances of the email builder and more on if you just want to send simple, basic stuff. That's work we're doing right now. We understand there's more work to do on the email builder, but that's not it's not an area of high priority for us right now.
Okay, great. Well, look, I think those are the majority of the questions. I know there's a ton of very, very specific product questions. What I'm going to do is try and address those in the Facebook comments. And then maybe we can get some keepers to help us out in answering some of those questions in the Facebook comments. I'll post the questions that were sent to me as comments, and we can have your team help us out in answering those. Feel free to comment and ask additional questions there. I don't have the Facebook feed live in front of me, so I don't know what questions are being asked right now. Maybe we can pull it up here. I'm probably actually not that good with Facebook to figure out how to do that right now. But we might be able to see here. See if there's any great questions. Clayton, is there anything else that you wanted to share with the audience while I'm working on this?
While you're looking at that, I think you talked a little bit about the core. And I'm so glad that you said that, because that's exactly what we're doing right now. We're coming back to our core, and it feels amazing.
There you go.
There you go.
You're talking to yourself here.
That's right.
Go ahead.
So I think that core about the purpose of this company to help small businesses succeed, and our mission to simplify growth for millions of small businesses worldwide, and the values, the core values that we live by. That's something that, as my team and I go into this next stage of the business, we're working hard to bring that back in a really powerful way that, as you said, it becomes a magnet. It just attracts entrepreneurs and talented people who want to help small businesses succeed. And I'm really excited about this next stage of the business, primarily because of the product, secondarily because of the team that I have and how we've pulled it together, but then also just because of the way that we get to go back out to the world and share with them what we're doing and what's available to them. And I can't wait for people to see these two worlds of Keap and Infusionsoft come together this year. It'll be really awesome.
That's great. So a related question that came up here is, okay, so who is the leadership team now? Obviously, we heard about you, we heard about Scott. What else is going on across the team? Who are the people, and who's out, who's in? What's the status there?
Yeah, it's a tight executive leadership team with Scott over marketing and Rajesh over product and technology. Kaya, she's over all the people and operations and legal. And then Dave is over partners and business development and all of those relationships. So that's the tight executive team. And then I've got some functional areas in addition to that to report to me. So the customer success reports up to me, and the sales reports up to me, as well as the finance reports up to me.
And how does the board interact now at this point?
We have quarterly board meetings. I keep them updated with our progress each month. But they're eager to see us in this next stage of the business bring together what we've been working on and help our customers and partners see it. And I think one of the things that you'll start to see is the way that we led in the market with educational marketing, life cycle marketing. It works. It's really powerful. And I think with Scott, one of the reasons why I'm so excited is because Scott's bringing that educational marketing back to the business and back to the market. And that it's just a ton of fun, as you know.
Yeah. And one question here that came up was, is that Scott Martineau? Yes, we're referring to Scott Martineau. Yeah. He's leading marketing and we'll be leading this education effort. And I totally agree. We see that with our clients as well, that we can give them all the tools. We can even build all the campaigns for them. But if their understanding of marketing and strategy isn't sound, then it just falls on deaf ears. So that's exciting. What about, here's another good question. Who is Infusionsoft, who is Keap targeting these days? And this is probably, I'm guessing anyways, this is, again, one of those philosophical differences in the past with leadership. Mm-hmm. Maybe people wanted to go upstream, target bigger businesses, I don't know. But my understanding is that it's still the same small business customer. So describe that for us. Yeah. Who are you guys going at?
Yeah, it's small businesses. It's generally 1 to 25 employees. They generally they're in services. So 91% plus of our customers are service businesses of some sort, but they're entrepreneurs, they're consultants, they're coaches, they're marketing consultants. That's who our customers are. They sometimes have a product that they sell, and that's why it's important to be able to do order forms. But they're usually not big product company. It's not a product company, so to speak. It's more they've got their service and their expertise that they offer to the world, and our platform is the platform they use to do that.
Awesome.
And I would say that it's actually not moving upstream to bigger companies. That's never been what we've been about. Mm-hmm. I think that for a season, there was a focus more on kind of the home services. A lot of the Intuit folks, you think about their world, it's the small business, that's the landscaper, I'm not saying we don't have any of those, but that's not the center of our bullseye. The center of our bullseye is these entrepreneurial consultants, coaches, marketing experts. They're people who are building their business up around that expertise. We see a lot in fitness. We see, they're consultants of some sort, fitness or marketing or different kinds of professional services. That's who our customers are. We have a lot in that professional services realm. We like to talk about them as professional services in defined industries, and then there's all these professional services and these undefined entrepreneurial consultative businesses, and those are our customers.
Absolutely. Well, Clay, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking some time to share with us what's going on at Keap. Again, there's a lot of very specific product questions, which we'll try and address in the comments. But thanks, everybody, for joining us. It's been a pleasure. And hopefully we'll do this again next year.
We will. Thanks, Tyler. Appreciate it. And thank you for all that you do to serve our mutual customers and just carry the banner of small business success and helping us to achieve the mission. I appreciate it. And thanks for the opportunity to talk.
Absolutely. I've said for a long time, or at least for the last 4 years or so, I will have so much more confidence in Infusionsoft or Keap as a company if they would just let Scott and Clay run this thing the way they want. And that's kind of a comment I've said offhand, behind closed doors to other people that I know or whatever. But now it's actually happened. And I can't tell you how excited I am to know that that's happening or has happened, and that you two are going to take the charge and get things back to where we know they can be. And it's just super, super exciting.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. I've got a great team. And it's really fun for me and Scott to be leading again. And, Dave's awesome and Kaya's awesome. And Rajesh is fantastic. He joined us just, July of last year and moved his family out here from Connecticut so his wife could come back home because she's a Sun Devil from ASU. And he's awesome. He's really great. So it's not, it's not I don't want to say that it's not the Clayton Scott show, but the co-founders are leading again, and that's really awesome.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All righty.
Appreciate it.